Hello, students. In this lecture, we shall look into some more aspects of the institution of Ombudsman. Especially, we shall discuss the different kinds of important provisions or salient provisions of the Lokpal Act of India and all the new changes or happenings which have taken place in India. So all of us know that the institution of Lokpal is to prevent the maladministration, which is in a manner very deteriorating to the society, which is shaking the trust of the people in the system of governance, and which is causing the loss of accountability. So, in order to prevent the corruption, this is taken as an anti-corruption measure, and there are various agencies which were earlier established but were not able to perform their functions, because of which we had developed this institution of Lokpal. So in India, Lokpal and Lokayukt Act was passed in 2013, all of us know, and it is now a statutory body without any constitutional status. The function of ombudsman is to look into the allegations of the corruption. So, wherever there is any public functionary involved in any kind of act which is against the administrative norms, or where the person has tried to achieve some undue advantage which he would not otherwise have legally obtained, then in that case the institution of Lokpal has a very important role, very important duty to pay. The provisions of the enactment is a result of the long discussion which has taken place. Many attempts, as we know, have been undertaken, and we are inspired also by the 1809 institution of ombudsman, when it was officially inaugurated in Sweden in 1809, and we are also motivated by the institution of ombudsman in New Zealand and in Norway, where the system was adopted in 1962. The Indian legal scientists, when they discussed about the establishment of the institution of Lokpal, also considered the recommendations of the Wyatt report of 1961 of UK, where the Great Britain adopted the institution of ombudsman in 1967. So we have also considered the different kinds of attempts which were done in the other Asian countries also, like Singapore and Malaysia. So after that, Indian Parliament had actually materialized this idea, which was first proposed by the law minister Ashok Kumar Sen in the parliament in early 60s, and in 1966, as all of us know, that the first Administrative Reforms Commission had set up for instituting the independent authority at two levels, at the state level as well as at the central level. And the Lokpal bill in 1968 was attempted to be passed, but it could not be passed because of the dissolution of the Lok Sabha, and since then it was not able to be passed for long duration until we have recently got it passed. And also there is a lot of contribution of civil society. The civil society also contributed to the framing of the Lokpal Adhiniyam, and all of us know that under the leadership of Anna Hazare, there was a Jan Lokpal Adhiniyam which was drafted, and in 2005 the second Administrative Reforms Commission, which was chaired by Veerappa Moily, also gave certain recommendations, and those recommendations were also considered. And so we know that finally in 2013 the bill was framed on the basis of the earlier discussions done at two levels. It provides for the establishment of the Lokpal bill. In 2013 it was brought. It became an enactment. It got the assent of the president on 1st of January 2014, and it came into force from 16th of January 2014. So this Lokpal enactment has some very, very important aspects with which it is dealing. Its preamble is very important for all of us to know. The preamble is very, very important in case of any legislation. It sets out the object which is likely to be achieved by a particular law. So the enactment has its preamble explaining that the institution of Lokpal or Lokayukt is basically established at the union level and at the state level, both level, taking care of the federal structure of India at two levels, two vertical levels it is there, and the purpose is to inquire into the allegations of corruption against certain public functionaries, and other incidental matters are also connected, so those also will be within the purview of this enactment. So the basic purpose is to inquire into the allegations of corruption. The objective also states, the preamble of the Lokpal and Lokayukt Act 2013 also states that the Constitution of India establishes a democratic republic, and the purpose of the democratic republic is to ensure justice to all. So the purpose of the institution of Lokpal is to guarantee, is to ensure justice to all the people. And what kind of justice we have in our preamble? In the preamble or objectives we talk about the justice which is social, which is economic, in all the spheres. We talk about political justice also. So this objective which is given in the preamble of the Lokpal Act 2013 also states that India has ratified the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. So as a ratifying country, it is our duty that whatever objectives are set in the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, we must frame the legislations in our nation, our parliament must frame the law to fulfill that objective. And so this enactment is also a result of this kind of pledge which we have given by signing the Convention Against Corruption. The objective stated in the preamble also mentions that the government is committed, the government of India is committed to the clean governance and responsive governance. So all the bodies which are performing the public functions, they must reflect clean and responsive administration, clean and responsive governance, and they should act very effectively. And if there is any kind of deviation from that, there should be a machinery to punish the acts of corruption. So this is another object of the Lokpal and Lokayukt enactment. So this is the ideology or idea which is predicted there in the preamble, and it is also mentioned that it is expedient because of all of these reasons. It has become expedient to make a law for more effective implementation of the Convention Against Corruption and to provide for the prompt and fair investigation into the cases of corruption, to provide a prompt and fair prosecution in the cases of corruption. So keeping all this in mind, the Lokpal and Lokayukt Act 2013 had been drafted, and under this enactment, the machinery is set up. The institution of Lokpal is set up. The Lokpal is, according to the enactment, it is a multi-member body and it consists of one chairperson and maximum 8 members. As far as the qualification of the appointees is concerned, the chairperson of the Lokpal should be either a former Chief Justice of India or the former judge of the Supreme Court, or he could also be any eminent person with integrity and outstanding ability, having any kind of special knowledge and expertise of minimum 25 years in the matters relating to anti-corruption and policy and public administration. Might be the matters of vigilance, it could be the matters of finance, including the insurance sector, banking sector, law or management sector. So versatile, people from versatile areas having experience of minimum 25 years, or the former judge of Supreme Court, or the former Chief Justice of India, could be appointed as a chairperson, and it also says that it could be any eminent person in those fields which we have just seen. Now, along with them, there are a maximum 8 members. It is the provision there. So, half of these 8 members will be judicial members, and minimum 50% of the members will be from the SC, ST, or OBC, or minorities, or and women. So, the judicial member of Lokpal, either a former judge or Supreme Court or a former Chief Justice of High Court, these qualifications can be possessed by a judicial member of the Lokpal institution. Now, as far as the non-judicial member is concerned, he could be any eminent person with impeccable integrity and outstanding ability, having the special knowledge, having the expertise of minimum 25 years in the different fields, any field out of these, like anti-corruption policy, public administration, or vigilance, or finance, or it includes insurance sector, law and management. Now, as far as the term is concerned, the term of the office for Lokpal chairman and members, the term is 5 years or till the age of 70 years. The members are appointed by the president, and there is a selection committee which is provided in the enactment. On the recommendation of that selection committee, Lokpal is to be appointed, and the selection committee is composed of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister is the chairperson of the selection committee. He is the first member. The second is the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, then the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha. And because we did not have any leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, that is why so long the institution of Lokpal could not be appointed even after framing of this enactment. Then along with this member, there is Chief Justice of India or any judge nominated by the Chief Justice of India, and one eminent jurist. This is the constitution, this is the composition of the selection committee, and for selecting, a search panel is constituted, and that search panel suggests the persons. At least 8 persons are there in the search panel. The Lokpal Act is supposed to constitute a search committee which will find out the list of candidates who are interested to be appointed as chairperson or members of the Lokpal, and then the selection panel may pick the name. They can also pick a name which is supposed to be there, but even if that name is not suggested, they may pick some other name also. They may suggest some other name also. Okay, so selection panel, it means is not, it may or may not pick the names which are suggested by the selection committee. There is no compulsion. The 2013 enactment also states that the office of Lokayukt shall be constituted within 1 year from the commencement of the act. However, it could not be materialized. So, as far as the power of the jurisdiction or power of the Lokpal is concerned, the Lokpal includes the Prime Minister, the complaints against the Prime Minister, ministers, members of the Parliament, or the group ABCD officials of the central government are also included within the jurisdiction, and the Prime Minister I've just mentioned is included there, except on the allegations of corruption which are related to international relations, or which are related to security or public order, or which are related to atomic energy and space. These are the exceptions. Apart from that, the Prime Minister is included within the jurisdiction of Lokpal, and the Lokpal does not have jurisdiction over the ministers and MPs in the matters of anything which is done in the parliament. Parliamentary privileges, as we know, are provided in the constitution, would apply. So the jurisdiction of Lokpal also include any person who is or who has been in charge as any director or manager or secretary of any society which is set up under a central legislation or under the central enactment, or any other body which is financed by the central government, which is controlled by the central government. So if any kind of bribery or corrupt practice is involved, such person is also within the jurisdiction of Lokpal. Then Lokpal Act mandates that all the public officials should give details. They should furnish the details of the assets which are possessed by them and which are possessed by their family members. This is to, in a way, guarantee open government, so that disproportionate massification of assets must not be done. So Lokpal also has power to superintendence over the CBI. It can give directions to CBI, and if Lokpal refers the cases to CBI, the investigation official in such cases cannot be transferred without the approval of the Lokpal. There are very important provisions like this. So, and the inquiry wing of the Lokpal has been vested with the powers of the civil court, and Lokpal has powers, different kind of powers which are necessary for performance of its function, like the confiscation of the assets, like which are procured by means of corruption, or if there is any doubt that such thing has happened. And it has power to recommend transfer of the servant, public servant, suspension of the public servant. Such kinds of actions can be done. It can also give directions to prevent the destruction of records during the preliminary inquiry. However, there are certain limitations also with regard to Lokpal. Lokpal institution is also accused to be politically influenced, and the manipulation, charges of manipulation is there. The enactment does not provide any kind of protection to the whistleblowers also. That is also there. It did not provide exclusion. It did not provide any kind of constitutional backing. It is not mentioned in the constitution. It is simply a statutory background. Statutory basis is there for establishing Lokpal. And the one more biggest lacuna, a shortcoming of the enactment, is the non-inclusion of the judiciary within the jurisdiction of Lokpal. It is outside the ambit of Lokpal. However, judicial accountability bill is another question. So there are definitely more need of more independence of the office of Lokpal also, with regard to the relationship between CBI and Lokpal. To some extent, it is said, it is written that need for functional independence of CBI is also there, and there is a limitation period of 7 years provided that if the complaint is filed beyond the period of 7 years, then it is not maintainable. So we have to rethink, we have to develop the institution of Lokpal. When it will start functioning, definitely new things would become coming in due course of time, and the institution of ombudsman will become more and more transparent, more and more strengthened and strong, gradually and slowly. And we know that there are various latest developments which we have seen, that the Justice Pinaki Chandra Bose is appointed the first Lokpal of India, and the Lokpal institution has the logo which is based upon the meaning that talks about caretaker of people, that it is mentioning that Lokpal is the caretaker of people. It take care for the people of India for the purpose of establishing justice, for the purpose that the vigilance should take place appropriately. There should be a proper establishment of rule of law in India. So with that, we have known that how the institution of Lokpal is functioning in India. Along with that, we must know that Lokayukt institution is senior to the institution of Lokpal in India. The Lokpal institution developed later, and Lokayukts at the state levels are present earlier. In Karnataka, Lokayukt was there. In Maharashtra, in more than 13 states of India, institution of Lokayukt, just like same kind of work which the Lokpal is currently doing, is done by the institution of Lokayukts at the state level to prevent the corruption. So the states are ahead in this regard in comparison to the center as far as the establishment of Lokpal is concerned. So I hope that by the end of this lecture, all of you are in a position to understand and explain the institution of Lokpal in India. We are knowing now that how the Lokayukt are functioning. We know that what are the salient features of the Lokpal Act 2013. What are the shortcomings in this enactment? Those shortcomings also we know by now. And what is the role which the institution of Lokpal can play in good governance in India. Thank you so much for being with me in this lecture.